How are you guys doing? This is Ben from Nader Accountancy. And in this video, we're going to be going over S corporations for OnlyFans creators. I'm going to get into the advantages of them, when you would want to make the switch, like what situations it makes it right for your business to actually make the transition, how much tax can actually be saved by making the switch, as well as other important information that you need to know. I'm going to try to make it short and concise. It's not a super complicated topic. It has some terms that are kind of complicated, but I'll try to make it simple and concise like I always do. Let's get into it. Just going over now what an S corporation is and how it comes about. Let's assume we have an LLC. Now, for those who know, an LLC isn't a tax entity, it's a legal entity. It doesn't really offer anything for tax purposes. It's a limited liability company. But with your LLC, you can file something called Form 2553, and what that does is it elects your LLC to be taxed as an S corporation. Now, an S corporation in its highest form it's a pass-through entity, meaning everything that happens within the entity, it gets passed down to its members. It flows, it's called a flow-through. It flows to its members. So assume it's owned by Mike. So everything that happens within the S corporation is going to flow to Mike. It's going to file something called an 1120S, which determines all that information, and then it's going to give out what's called a K1 to its owner. And that K1 is going to specify all the income, deductions, credits, expenses that's going to flow to Mike's actual income tax return at the end of the year on his 1040. So that's just a high-level overview of what goes on in the S Corp lifespan. So going into the actual tax calculation now and the benefits of an S corporation for OnlyFans creators, I'll explain that now. So on the left here, on the left column, I have a sole prop. It could be an LLC. And on the right, I have the S corporation. So we've covered it in a few videos now, but remember about self-employment tax. If you're an OnlyFans creator, you have to pay self-employment tax on your income. So for 2025, self-employment tax, it's made up of two things. There's 12.4% of it is Social Security, and Social S, and 2.9% of it is for Medicare. Now, you pay that 12.4% on all your income up to $176,100. After that, you're not paying any more self-employment tax, Social Security tax, sorry. The 2.9% is all income. You pay that 2.9 on every dollar you make, and you actually pay an additional 0.9 past a certain amount, as well as the 2.9. So you pay both those. But it's very important. You only pay that 12.4% up to $176,100. Now for an S corporation, here's where the advantages come. As an S corporation owner, since you're the owner of the corporation, there's two things. There's a salary and there's distributions out of the corporation's profits. You pay yourself what's called a reasonable compensation. Now, this is a very debated topic. You can find lots of videos of it online. I'm going to explain it in the next section of this video. But that's reasonable compensation is half of the equation. There's that and there's distributions. You're only going to pay that self-employment tax on your salary. That's where self-employment tax comes into play. For distributions, there is no self-employment tax. And that's where the advantages come. So say, for hypothetical sake, you make $100,000. And again, just hypothetical numbers. You give yourself a salary of $50K and you distribute the remaining $50K. So the savings now, they come in right here. So on that $50K salary we gave ourselves, we're paying self-employment tax on that amount. So this $50K, we pay SE tax on this $50K. For the distribution of $50K, there's no self-employment tax. That's where the savings are. So remember we said it's 15.3, the self-employment tax? It would not be paid on that $50K. So 15% of $50K, 5,000 something. That's the savings right there. That's the power of the S corporation for an OnlyFans creator. It's right there. Now let's go into some requirements you need to have, some disadvantages, some advantages, things you need in place. You could be thinking now, Ben, you just explained that so well to us. Why doesn't everyone make the switch to an S corporation and start saving money today? Well, unfortunately, it's not as simple as just snapping your fingers and then all of a sudden you're an S corporation. There's things that go into it. Firstly, there's compliance costs. S corporations are generally pretty complicated returns, so accountants and preparers and CPAs, they're usually And nowadays, the going rate's like 1,000 to 2,000 solely for the return. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Secondly, you got to run payroll. Remember, guys, you're paying yourself a reasonable compensation, which is a salary. There's payroll that goes into that. You don't just get to say, I'm paying myself this much and it's done. There's a lot of steps that need to be involved. You usually want to get in touch with a professional for stuff like this. You can reach out to me, naderaccountancy.com. Check the bio, check the comments, check the description of the video, or a different person if you'd like. No sweat off my nose. I'm just trying to help people for free. And then finally, you want to make sure, here's where the thing is. They say, if you look up on Reddit, and like honestly, just Reddit or some other websites, they're saying like, they say, here it is, when you make greater than $50,000 per year, you want to do the S Corp election. But I don't entirely agree with that. I think it's just hard to give a blanket statement and say, okay, when you have this much money, make the switch. I will say this. Once you're past 50K to 60K, then you want to look into crunching the numbers, getting in touch with a professional and saying, does it make sense for me? It's a very individual basis. Does it make sense for me to make the switch? There's a lot of things that go into factor other than just what I have on the screen here. Okay, now high-level overview, how to figure out your reasonable comp. Step one, we're going to list out what roles you do within the company. So, say we're an OnlyFans creator now. Say we do the marketing. That's one role, marketing. I think there's two T's, maybe there's one, but whatever. Marketing. Say we also do the photography. Say we're shooting the shit, we're shooting the stuff ourselves. Shooting the stuff ourselves. Sorry for excuse my language. Thirdly, we're editing the video. We're editors. I could probably think of another one. Say we're the social media manager. That's another role. These are to get creative. And don't get creative, but be realistic. A lot of slip-ups today. Social media manager. That's another role we can do. Secondly, estimate how many hours we spend on these roles per week, and then you can do the math per year. However many you spend, just don't even estimate. Just be realistic. How much do you spend? Say a couple hours of marketing a day or per week. A couple hours of photography, editing, social media managing. You want to get those hours. You want to estimate them up, and then have them ready to go and document. Step 3, you want to research what people are making in these roles. Where can you get that information? Glassdoor is one of them. Everyone's heard of that, I think. Another one is PayScale. They had the airport, I think, is another one. Yeah, PayScale. There's many others out there. You can find this information. It's all online. And then step 4, just do the math. Say we're doing 50 hours a week. Just 50 hours a week on photography. It's just being simple. Say it's 10, then they're paying whatever, $10 an hour. I don't know. $70 right there. Now, obviously, the math doesn't make sense. I mean, the math makes sense, but the numbers may be wrong. But just that's the calculation you want to do. And then document everything. And then at the end of the year, you have your number. That's your reasonable compensation. That's your salary. And the rest you're taking as a distribution. And that's where the tax savings are. And finally, just to go over like a small example, I have sole prop on the left, S Corp on the right. Assuming 150K profit for both, the sole prop would pay, remember guys, you first multiply your total profit by 92.35 to get your net self-employment earnings. That gives us the number up top there. From there, we multiply that by 12.4, we get the 17167 figure. And then we multiply the 138 again by 2.9% to get the Medicare portion, which is 4,017, which gives us a total self-employment tax for a sole prop of 21,184. And then for the S Corp, assuming we take a salary of 110,000, which is honestly on the higher side, but I just want to make it for the example's sake. We multiply that 110, the full 110 salary by 12.4 for the Social Security portion, so 13,640. We also multiply it by 2.9 for the Medicare part, so 3,190, which gives us a total self-employment tax for the S Corp of 16,830. The difference of those two is 4,354, so that is your tax savings right there. And that just shows you the power right there. That's taking a high salary. Assume it's a little lower. Now I can't give advice on what's the right salary. I have no idea. I don't know. This is just an example. But that's a very defensive position. And the savings are pretty dramatic there as well. So just to give you a glimpse of the power that an S corporation can have in the right circumstance and fact pattern. Final recap. For an S corporation, guys, remember you can go from LLC to S corporation. You can go from a regular corporation to an S corporation. You want to make sure you're tracking all your expenses. You want to do that regardless to make sure, especially for this, you want to get in touch with the professional. S corporations can be very tricky. There are certain things you need to go to a professional for, and this is one of them. Other than that, if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I'll try to answer all of them. Please like the video, subscribe. If you want to work with me personally, Link in the bio, link in the comments, link in the description. Book a consultation, and I'm excited to get in touch with you guys. Thank you.